ultimately you're dealing with a business, a bank that's providing you
Yeah.
this service. And so, you're going to pay on average around 5,000 ish dollars just to refinance. And that could be pretty costly. And you might actually not get that back depending on your current situation, what your goal is for living in your current house.
Yeah, you're really not gonna know what the exact cost of these until you actually go through it. I've
Hmm.
seen anywhere from 1 to 3% of your outstanding balance for closing costs. I've seen 2 to 5. I've even seen 3 to 6. So
Right.
I would just hit it right in the middle, say somewhere in that 2 to 5.
Right.
And depending on how your house is, how your credit score is, et cetera, what bank you use, and it just really depends on when you go through and actually go work with the lender. But those are things that you really wouldn't think about initially.
Hmm.
With the closing costs, you think, I can save so much per month, but how much is that closing cost or how much is that refinance costing you up front? And you even hear, well, hey, come with our bank and there'll be no closing costs. And
Right.
you have to you have to think, no closing costs.
Hmm.
Why is everybody else asking for it and you're not? You want my business that bad? And a lot of the times, as you go through your line items, you'll see that those closing costs are just put into your mortgage. So right now, instead of paying cash up front for those closing costs, you're now financing them over the length of your mortgage.
So what are some of these closing classes? Do like a quick hitter, round robin, fast fire. So we have appraisal. So that's ultimately looking at the value of your home and how much it's going to be worth so that they can potentially give you a loan. You also have getting your credit
Mhm.
report pulled and that process to do that, as well as origination fees and things to that nature. Another one that you might
Yeah.
look at and often gets brought to the table is buying points to your mortgage. And so what buying points is essentially it's roughly about 1% of your loan. It'll get you a
Yeah.
lower interest rate. So let's just say for $100,000 home,
Mhm.
you pay 1 point, which is equal to a cost of $1,000. So 1% of that loan. And that's going to drop your interest rate, let's just say a quarter percent or 0.25%. So you have
Yeah.
to really account for all of those fees when you're looking at refinancing. And one thing I will add here is that a lot of these can be negotiable. And so when you're working with a company or shopping
Mhm.
around with several companies, see which ones you can play with. And some companies might actually just wipe away an appraisal fee. For example, if you've
Yeah.
had a house built in the last couple of years and things like that.
Yeah, and also be aware before you sign on that dotted line that they're not tossing in a bunch of junk cost. I've
Right.
seen I've seen areas where they toss in a, administration fee or a mailing fee even though they didn't
Hmm.
mail anything or you they just they'll just put in all these all other small things that in the big grand scheme of things it doesn't seem like a big deal, but they just try to
Right.
nickel and dime you. And just before you sign that dotted line, make sure you check those things aren't out there. And a lot of the times those can be negotiable and just say, I'm not paying those.
And always remember that they are a business, right? So they're there to make
Yeah.
money. So paying fees isn't a bad thing when you're refinancing. Because remember, at the end of the day, your ultimate goal is to pay less overall than your current situation. So decreasing your interest expense, potentially paying off your house faster. And so one really
Yeah.
good way to look at this when you take into account your closing costs and you take into account your refinancing and the interest rates that you're getting is what they call a
Yeah.
break even analysis. And what a
Yeah.
break even analysis ultimately does is it takes, how much you have to pay to refinance. So looking at those
Yeah.
closing costs, and then how much you are saving over the course of your loan. And, how long does it take you to recoup those costs upfront and then start to, see the positive benefits of refinancing.
Yeah. This is one of those bar napkin calculations too. Just want something really quick and try figuring it out of what you want to do. But it'd be something as easy as, you had you had a 5% interest rate now, and say your new one's 4%. Because I don't think you'd refinance to get a higher rate.
Right.
So right there, you're saving that 1%
Hmm.
per year. And say that went on to that $100,000 that we've been using all along, and saying, all right, I can save about $1,000 annually. I mean, obviously, it's just very general numbers.
Right.
And then you
Right.
say, all right, and then my closing costs came out to be $2,000.
Hmm.
You take that $2,000 and then you divide it with that 1,000 of your savings per year and say, all right, it's two. And that two stands for 2 years is your break even. So if you're going to be staying in that house for longer than 2 years, then it's a potential green light to get a refinance. I guess
Hmm.
I don't want to say green light, but it can kind of get your gears going saying, maybe it is something I do want to look into
Yeah,
if
you're
you're
going
going
to
to
be on
be
the
in
positive
less
side after those 2 years, right?
as far as costs go.
And I think another way to look at it too.